Hello guys, today this video I am going to explain about how to use JSP and Servlet with web.xml in web component development 1 subject. So let's talk about configuring the web.xml deployment descriptor. Java web application use a deployment descriptor file to determine how URL map to servlet, which URL require authentication and other information. This file is named web.xml and reside in the apps WAR under the web.inf directory. Web.xml is part of the servlet standard for web application. Deployment descriptor. A web application's deployment descriptor describes the classes, resources and configuration of the application and how the web server use them to serve web requests. When the web server receives a request for the application, it uses the deployment descriptor to map the URL of the request to the code that how to handle the request. The deployment descriptor is a file named web.xml. It resides in the apps WO file or under the web.inf directory. The file is an XML file whose root element is web app. This is an example code for a deployment descriptor. So we can see example code for a deployment descriptor. There is a servlet and there are servlet name, servlet class and servlet mapping. Servlet mapping have servlet name and URL pattern. The main XML part is web app. So let's talk about servlet and URL paths. Web.xml define mapping between URL paths and the servlet that handle request with those paths. The web server uses this configuration to identify the servlet to handle a given request and call the class method that corresponds the request method. Example, the doGet method for HTTP GET request to map a URL to servlet. You declare the servlet with the servlet element, then define a mapping from a URL path to a servlet declaration with the servlet mapping element. The servlet element declares the servlet, including a name used to refer to the servlet by other elements in the file, the class to use for the servlet, and initialized parameters. You can declare multiple servlets using the same class with different initialization parameters. The name for each servlet must be unique across the deployment descriptor. So this is an example for servlet. There I have servlet element and servlet name, servlet class, init parents, parent name, parent value. This is an example for that. Let's talk about JSP. An app can use Java server page JSPs to implement web pages. JSP are servlet defined using static content such as HTML mixed with Java code. App engine supports automatic compilation and URL mapping for JSPs. A JSP file in the applications go outside web.inf, whose file names ends in JSP is equation to the path to the JSP file from the root. For example, if an app has a JSP file name start.jsp in a subdirectory name register in its for app engine compiles it and maps it to the URL path register start.jsp. If you want more control over how the JSP is mapped to a URL, you can specify the mapping explicitly by declaring it with a servlet element in the deployment descriptor. Instead of a servlet class element, you specify a JSP file element with the path to the JSP file from go root. The servlet element for the JSP can contain initialization parameter. This is a example for JSP. Thank you for watching this video.